Me live to help break down the findings further is political expert Mark Jones. Mark, good morning, sir. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We do appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So talk to us. As we just heard, a lot of voters don't seem to know much about many of the candidates they will be voting for in less than a few weeks. Are voters, in your opinion, based upon this research, ready for this election? Should we be concerned with the results of where voters stand today?
Well, I think what we're seeing is that, as you already noted, more than half of likely voters don't know anything about most of these candidates. Even the best known candidate, Sheriff Eric Gonzalez, isn't well known by 3/4, but he's head and shoulders above the rest. That's in part because we haven't had very active campaigns. Combined, all these campaigns have probably spent around $1 million over the course of the past few months, which just isn't enough in a county with a population of 5 million. What this means is that a large majority of voters, when they cast their ballots, are going to do it primarily based on partisanship. They don't know who the candidates are. They don't know much about them, but they do know if they're a Democrat or a Republican. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing Democrats do so well, because at the end of the day, if they don't know a lot about the candidate, they're going to vote based on partisanship. And Harris County is increasingly a light blue to blue county.
Yeah, voting along those party lines. When you look at this election compared to previous elections, is this pretty abnormal or normal when we're looking at data?
Well, I mean, it's different from back in 2022, where we had a very active county judge campaign between Democrat Lina Hidalgo and Republican Alex Mueller. And as a result, Mueller was able to close the gap with Hidalgo based on favorability, because once people learned about her, they had a more favorable opinion. The dilemma that most of these Republican candidates face right now is, since they're not well known, people are primarily going to be based on partisanship, and that means that pretty much across the board, we're going to see Democrats sweep the entire county, from these higher profile positions of district attorney and sheriff down to all the judicial positions that are up for grabs this cycle.
These are the candidates. Let's talk about propositions here. We know when you go in to cast your ballot, you're not just voting for candidates, but you're voting for other measures as well. Nearly 20% of voters are undecided on Proposition A regarding that flood control. We've talked a lot about this in the past few weeks. Is this another case of voters not being informed? And we do have a few weeks left. We have a weekend here before early voting kicks off. Should voters do their homework now?
Well, yeah, I think it is definitely a case where voters are probably, most of the voters were just not even aware that Proposition A was on the ballot. So you can, if you're pro Proposition A, there's a glass half full, glass half empty way to look at it. The glass half full is 51% are in favor of it. The glass half empty, though, is that 30% are against it and 19% are undecided. I think the Proposition A supporters are lucky that there's no active campaign against it, because while most voters in general support flood relief, this item is on the ballot at a time that Harris County residents are going to see their property taxes increase by about 15% already, even without this increase, because of the decision by the Harris County Commissioners Court to use a loophole in state legislation to dramatically increase property taxes this cycle.
This, of course, is a top issue, a big concern for a lot of folks. This study went on to identify other major top issues, concerns for voters. Looking at the survey, anything stick out here to you in this portion?
Well, so as you mentioned, rising property taxes was one of the top 3 issues for voters. The other one that's a new one was electricity service reliability. That actually is the issue that the largest proportion of Harris County likely voters are concerned about. And that stems directly from the derecho storm in the spring and Hurricane Beryl in the summer, where now the issue that people are most concerned about, at least in terms of proportions, is electricity service reliability. And then that's followed by things like housing affordability, flooding, and crime, which are more traditional issues that always have resonated with Harris County residents.
Yeah, great insight. Mark Jones, as always, thank you very much. We do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.